Welcome to the Sentinel Report. Folks, it turns out, yes, they were indeed funding biolabs in Ukraine and all over the world. That's according to the Director of National Intelligence. Absolutely stunning, but it's true. Also, the fake Social Security Trust Fund, almost out of money. We've got a few years left before the whole thing goes broke, unless they make some pretty dramatic changes. Yes, it's not what anybody wants to hear, certainly not what any politicians want to talk about, but it's happening and it's important that you know it. Apparently, Donald Trump shut down the investigation into his own attempted assassination. We've got more on that coming up. Left-wing judge just ordered Trump to put all the fake garbage back up at our national parks. Another deal with Iran. We'll have the details on that for you later in the program. The voting fraud is just out of control. If you look at what's going on in California, we've got a whole segment for you on that. It's simply crazy. Bill Gates testifying on Epstein. The Great Taking coming soon to a theater near you in the most horrifying sense possible. And also the collapse of civilization. Our friend Seth Gruber has got answers on how we stop it, if it's even still possible. So stay tuned for all that and much more here on the Sentinel Report. First, we start with a word from the Word. This comes out of Luke chapter 10, verses 17 through 20. The Word of God reads, "Now the 72 returned with joy, saying, 'Lord, even the demons are subject to us in your name.' And Jesus said to them, 'I watched Satan fall from heaven like lightning. Behold, I have given you authority to walk on snakes and scorpions and authority over all the power of the enemy, and nothing will injure you. Nevertheless, do not rejoice in this, that the spirits are subject to you, but rejoice that your names are recorded in heaven." Let's not lose sight of the main thing, folks. The main thing being what Christ did for us and for mankind. Just absolutely essential that we never lose sight of that. Before we get into our news segment, again, we have some very special guests coming up for you. I want to tell you about our friends that have just produced this incredible documentary over at Retirement Renegade. So this is a huge issue. We've talked about the Great Taking on this show for years. This is the legal mechanism through which you will own nothing. They made little changes to the laws of all 50 states and around the world over a period of many years. And now it turns out you don't actually own the investments that you think you own. The things you got in your 401k and your retirement do not legally belong to you as a property right. So one of the questions I get more than anything else from viewers, from listeners, and by the way, we love your questions. Go to libertysentinel.org/contact. Send questions. Maybe we'll read them on the air here one day. Send your contacts, your questions and your comments. But this is really critical. People ask all the time, what do I do with my savings? What do I do with my money? And the truth is, I don't give investment advice. But our friends at Retirement Renegade, they have been in this realm for a long time. They really understand this stuff. It's an independent retirement fiduciary firm. And they're one of the few that I have personally talked to that actually cares about this Great Taking. In fact, they cared so much, they put $1 million into making this documentary, The Retirement Reset. Yours truly is in it. So I hope you will check it out. A lot of great people. And they've got a special deal right now for viewers and listeners of the Sentinel Report. If you go to their website, it's retirementrenegade.com/liberty. Use that promo code LIBERTY at checkout. You'll be able to watch the documentary absolutely free. That's again at retirementrenegade.com/liberty. retirementrenegade.com/liberty. You can watch that documentary absolutely free, and then you can chat with one of their advisors, no obligation at all, but I think it'll do you good and help you too. Now, going to the news, folks, there's so much going on in the world today, but I wanted to start with this. This is just really astounding, really, really critical. Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, she's on her way out, but she just realized that revealed that the U.S. government has been funding biolabs in other countries. Listen.
After months of searching through intelligence community holdings and files, today I'm releasing new evidence of long-standing U.S. government funding of more than 120 biolabs in over 30 countries. Now, these biolabs include labs in places like Ukraine, which could be at risk of compromise due to the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. In fact, the intelligence community had previously warned that a U.S.-funded biolab in Ukraine likely housed dangerous pathogens and remained vulnerable to long-standing threats of Russian attack, seizure, or damage. Now, until now, evidence regarding the full existence and funding of these laboratories had been knowingly withheld from you. I issued new guidance to the intelligence community directing increased collection on these laboratories and facilities overseas. And we're already seeing the results of this increased collection. We're learning new details, for example, on clinical trials that are underway at these facilities and that are raising significant ethical, financial, and security concerns regarding the supposed public health initiatives and U.S. national security. Now, despite the obvious potential for catastrophic global impact that research on dangerous pathogens in biolabs can have, politicians and so-called health professionals like Dr. Fauci, as well as entities within the Biden administration's national security team, lied repeatedly.
Absolutely stunning. Andrew, what do you make of this? I mean, we heard that this was just a conspiracy theory, right? There's no government-funded biolabs engineering new viruses. It turns out, I guess it's not a conspiracy theory.
Well, as all conspiracy theories, that it's just time that reveals their validity. Most of them, not like the little green, lizards or something like that. But yeah, this is fascinating. Of course, it proves what we already knew. Tulsi Gabbard is proving the left and the right wrong, because the Uniparty was saying that this, biolab thing was a hoax. Unfortunately, she's now leaving the ODNI, so we need to make sure that whoever her, successor is continues this push in investigating this, because I imagine it's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, horrible. Folks, we got to track these people down, and we got to hold the people accountable who've been stealing our money to fund the creation of new and improved fakes, public health emergencies of international concern, to steal your freedom and to kill people. Yes, they are depopulationists, and they say so openly. They think there's too many of us on the planet. Never take your health advice from somebody who thinks there are too many people on the planet. Just friendly tip. Now, going over to Social Security, everything is a scam, right? Social Security, giant scam. In 6 years, the U.S. government now says it's going to be completely empty. Social Security Board of Trustees do this annual report, and in very, very plain English, they're like, guys, we're out of money by 2032. We are out of money by 2032. Let that sink in, folks. They are out of money by 2032. So all those people who are depending on Social Security to pay their bills, to pay their expenses, their rent, their mortgage, whatever, they're out of money in 6 years. The program collected almost $1.5 trillion last year, and yet they spent $1.6 trillion, over 1.6, $160 billion shortfall, covered, of course, by draining the alleged trust fund. There is no trust fund. It's a scam. They stole your money, and now they're going to make you pay to replenish the money that they stole. Folks, if you read this report, it's horrifying. They're giving proposals like we could raise the payroll tax from 12.4 to 16.6%. We could cut everybody's benefits by 25%. We could cut benefits by 30% for future retirees. These are the options that they talk about. And the trustees are actually just begging Congress, like, guys, do something sooner rather than later, because every year that you kick the can down the road, this gets harder. So 6 years. Start your clocks. It's not going to be pretty. Now, this was incredible. Donald Trump apparently shut down the investigation into his own attempted assassination. That's according to Tucker Carlson and his conversation with Dan Bongino. Listen to this.
And that problem began when I brought this information to his attention, and he became a different person. He was clearly terrified. I didn't get it at first, but he was hysterical. And ultimately, after a long series of text exchanges, which I still have, and phone conversations, he said, look, take it up with Trump. He's the one who shut down the investigation. And that was, I think, the first or second week of December. I think it was the beginning of the second week of December. I have it written down. But that was the moment, and I realized, oh, wow, there's no good explanation for shutting down an investigation into your own attempted murder. Like, this is not what we've been told it was.
Yeah, folks, I'm sorry. I don't care what the fake media says. The whole thing is really, really suspicious. The whole thing. I mean, this guy up there with a rifle aiming at the president. We actually had a Secret Service sniper who was on the presidential detail on this program saying that doesn't make sense. That kind of thing just doesn't happen. So we all need answers on this. And frankly, I think somebody ought to ask Dan Bongino what that means. Somebody ought to ask Trump. Now, turning to other news, a left-wing Biden judge just ordered the Trump administration to restore all the propaganda on climate change and slavery and DEI and all the rest of it on America's national parks and monuments all over the country. The judge claimed that removing these signs not only undermines the integrity of the national parks, it sets a dangerous precedent of censorship and sanitization. That's a response to the executive order from last year by the president ordering federal agencies to eliminate false revision of history across our national parks and monuments. Now, turning to Iran briefly, We're actually recording this episode on Monday, and so Trump has announced that we have a memorandum of understanding with the regime in Iran. He says the deal with the Islamic Republic of Iran is now complete. Congratulations to all. I hereby fully authorize the toll-free opening of the Strait of Hormuz and simultaneously herewith authorize the immediate removal of the United States naval blockade. Ships of the world, start your engines, let the oil flow. President Donald J. Trump. Meanwhile, Iranian state-backed media, the Mehr news agency, published details of this, and according to the details, Tehran is about to get a whole lot of money. Apparently, the U.S. government has agreed to unlock $24 billion of frozen assets, ease the sanctions on the Iranian energy sector, and reopen the strait. And apparently, that includes economic reconstruction aid worth something like $300 billion for Iran. Andrew, I don't know. I think this is the 27th, 37th, 40th, I don't know, time that we have won against Iran. Sounds like they're going to get a lot of money. What do you make? And it'll probably be changed by the time a lot of people are even hearing this, but what do you make of this?
Well, Trump's at the G7 right now in France, and he was said in a press conference with Emmanuel Macron that that wasn't necessarily the deal, but it's very behavioral. And if they're good, then maybe they'll get money. If they're bad, they won't. It's so vague. And, you know, one of the key points we were told from people who were for this war is you can't trust the Iranians. That's rule number one. So I don't trust what they say about the agreement, nor do I really trust what the president is saying about this being signed, because we haven't actually had a deal despite it being mentioned, as you said many times. So the word on the street is JD Vance is going to sign something on Friday in a more official capacity. We'll see. But ultimately, it appears after 4 months of fighting, nearly $1 trillion, tens of American lives gone, we have a strait that was already open and now access to nuclear dust. So I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't really know where the win is. But at this point, I do want it over. And hopefully that means no money to Iran, because that to me seems like that would be a massive, massive contradiction to America First foreign policy.
And we were very critical when Obama was handing out money to Iran. And now Trump's got everybody mad at him. The Israelis are mad at him. The neocons are mad at him. The MAGA base is mad at him. Everybody's mad at poor Trump. I mean, you got to feel bad for the guy. But wow. The Israelis saying we don't take orders from the United States and we're not going to obey, whatever thing. And Trump saying, Israel only exists because of America. What a gigantic, gigantic mess. Now, I want to turn to vote fraud. This is so huge, huge cheating, it looks like, with Spencer Pratt's lead collapsing in what multiple AI systems have said is a statistically impossible late-term ballot dump. Truly incredible. President Trump obviously rallying against the rigged election system. He says it's 4 days and they still aren't even close to telling you who won. You know why? Because they're rigging the election. That's why. Folks, this is crazy. I mean, they're like rigging the election right in front of our faces. Spencer Pratt got 0 votes out of 24,000 votes dropped in a late night ballot drop. A guy polling at around 30% gets 0 votes out of 24,000 late night ballot. Yeah, that makes sense, right? Okay. Absolutely crazy, folks. They're just doing it right in front of your face. Here's Benny Johnson finding a parking lot with 26 registered voters. Check it out.
Yo, what's up, guys? We're outside of a very important place here in California. You'll see it's just home to a porta-john and a giant empty parking lot. But inside of this empty parking lot is something really important in the state of California. As you can see here, we have registered voters. 26 registered voters.
26 registered voters at a porta potty. I wonder how they all fit inside. Now, here's a video, also came out of California. Same ballots being counted over and over and over again. For our radio audience, they're just feeding the same ballots back in. They pass them through, put them back in. Check this out. Count. There we go. So you count them all again, right? Now, in San Francisco, the home of phony elections and big tech companies, major case, San Francisco court announced they're going to be retrying a pro-life progressive activist, Anastasia Rogers, under California's freedom to access clinic entrances, even though her last case ended in a mistrial. 10-2, the jury voted not to convict her, and so the state of California is coming after her again. Typical of the state of California. Now, Bill Gates testified in a closed-door session with the Congress. that Jeffrey Epstein was just a good con artist. He was trying to blackmail poor little innocent Bill Gates. And, Bill Gates was just trying to save the world from climate change and COVID. And then this mean guy, Jeffrey Epstein, child rapist, is just abusing his power to try to blackmail poor little innocent Bill Gates. He released part of his statement. He says, "I'm glad to be here voluntarily to testify with help with the committee's work. I hope my testimony is helpful." Yeah, oh yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what you're hoping for. Now, turning to the United Kingdom, they've got a law now that's going to require a scanning device on every device that will scan all your photos, your videos, your messages on every phone in the country. And if a tech CEO refuses to comply, 5 years in jail. That means every photo on your phone, every message is going to be scanned, every video will be analyzed, and they will never abuse that. I mean, it's just for your own good, obviously. Now, Keir Starmer, the digital ID guy, is actually saying that this will prevent the children from sending nude photos to each other. I'm sure that's his top concern. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom government wants to ban social media access for anyone under 16. But here's the catch. To prove you're not under 16, you have to have your digital ID and you have to give all your data to Big Brother. He says, these days, kids must find their feet in a world where technology intrudes into every area of life. I just can't let that go on anymore. So we're giving children their childhoods back. And of course, BBC asked a child what they're going to do without social media. They said, we'll stare at a wall. Sounds about right. Meanwhile, the remigration initiative to save Europe is underway. They're trying to get signatures to force the European Commission to act even as Spain legalizes 500,000 illegal immigrants, maybe more. Folks, Europe is in big, big trouble. And that's all we have time for in our news segment. Before we get to our first ad and then come back with our guest, I want to tell you about our friends over at Mark 37, folks. They convinced me to try it out. I'd used a flip phone ever since smartphones were invented. I'd never had a smartphone. And when I heard about this, I thought, you know what? That sounds really interesting. So I got one. It's a semi-smartphone that has all the capabilities of your normal smartphone, but it doesn't send all your data to your big tech overlords and the evildoers who want to take away your freedom. So I've been trying it out now for over a month, and I'll tell you what, I really, really like it, because the reality is, folks, every search you do, every text you send, every errand you do, all of it's being logged, all of it's being sent to the big tech companies and the government. Most of us even know this, and yet we just keep doing it. We haven't decided to try to stop it. But once you get these ghost phones, you can kind of adopt a new lifestyle where privacy can really be a focus, and I really encourage you to check it out. If you go to mark37.com/liberty, you can actually register for their free webinar, find out what it takes to reclaim your digital life, reclaim your privacy, stop feeding the data that the evildoers are using to destroy you into their systems. There's no shortcuts promised. Obviously, it's just a real path forward to protect your privacy and your family's privacy. Stay with us. We'll be right back here on the Sentinel Report with my friend Seth Gruber on what is happening to our country. Hey guys, Alex Newman here. I want to tell you about a wonderful ministry that is doing incredibly important work. That's Public School Exit. I am very blessed to serve as the volunteer executive director. We've got an incredible team, and our mission is simple. Try to get as many children into the safe sanctuary of Christian education as humanly possible, as quickly as possible. Government schools are no place for children. Children need to learn about God. They need to learn the Word of God. They need real education. They need to learn how to read, write, and do math. And we all know that's not what's happening in the government schools. In fact, what's happening is they're turning our children into revolutionaries, little radicals ready to burn down our churches and our civilization, not to mention our families. So go check it out today, publicschoolexit.com. We've got all kinds of resources for parents, for pastors, for taxpayers, for everybody down the line. And folks, this is one of the most critical battles. So go check out our partners at publicschoolexit.com, publicschoolexit.com. Welcome back to the Sentinel Report. Alex Newman, your host here. Folks, the culture is still in chaos all around us. Obviously, a big pride event at the World Cup match between Egypt and Iran. We've got pro-lifers still being prosecuted. Most recently, San Francisco announced that they were going to retry a progressive pro-life activist after the jury voted overwhelmingly not to convict. They declared a mistrial. Babies are still being killed all across the country, even in the semi-free state of Florida, where we allegedly have adopted some of the toughest laws on stopping the killing of babies. They're still mailing abortion pills all over the country, even into states that have banned the killing of babies. Joining us to discuss all this and more is my friend Seth Gruber. He's probably one of the most articulate people in the world on this issue of life. He's the founder and CEO of the White Rose Resistance. He's got a new book out. It's also a film called The Last Stand, Christ or Chaos, The War for the West. Seth, thanks for joining us. Great to have you.
Thanks, Alex. You're the man.
Hey, it's great to be with you, Seth. So talk to us about where we're at right now in terms of the culture, in terms of the politics. I mean, I think a lot of people saw that the Republicans control the House, the Senate, the White House. We thought everything was going to be fine. Is everything fine?
Yeah, no, everything's not fine, Alex. And in fact, have you noticed how insistent the sodomites and Moloch worshipers of today's liberal establishment are at quadrupling down in their insistence that we celebrate the queen of all vices this month? Pride, which apparently is also the vice of all queens today. I don't know if you've noticed that. And then watching evangelifish pastors and Christians just stay silent during this month. I mean, I think there's more Christian resistance to weird gay stuff and just to like demonic evil than there used to be, Alex. Like, I think 2020, that was a testing point. The overturning of Roe was a test. And then the martyrdom and murder of our friend Charlie was another test. And I think more and more Christians are awakening, brother, but there's still not enough. Too many people are asleep in the light while we're experiencing the gasps of a civilizational moment. Okay. I write about this in my book, The Last Stand, and we talk about this in my film, Alex, which any church or Christian school can host a screening of this amazing 250th year for free right now by going to thelaststand.film. But J.D. Unwin, an Oxford anthropologist and ethnologist, wrote a study in 1934, huge book called Sex and Culture. And he looks at 86 civilizations over 5,000 years and asks the question, what causes civilizations to rise and thrive and what causes civilizations to decline and fall? And he finds a 100% correlation between the powerful coupling of prenuptial chastity with absolute monogamy and cultural advancement, energy, and power. He said these were the civilizations that gave us the best art, architecture, furniture, food, standing armies, families. Basically, don't have sex before you get married, and after you get married, only have sex with your spouse and spit out a bunch of little dragon slayers and outbreed the baby killers and actually like take over the globe. Or he said what led to civilizations declining and falling and eventually collapsing and being replaced. He says once a civilization adopts total sexual freedom and codifies it in law, which is super interesting, Alex. He says within 90 to 100 years, your civilization's done and you're replaced by another civilization with greater social energy. And there was not one exception to this rule, bro, in 86 civilizations over a 5,000 year period of time. In other words, when you codify weird sex stuff and weird gay stuff, when you celebrate child killing as a virtue and a necessary piece to liberty, women have to be able to kill their babies to be equal with men and crush glass ceilings. Once you codify and celebrate those things, if that civilization, J.D. Unwin says, Alex, doesn't do anything to reverse that, okay, to change the crash course scenario, then within 90 to 100 years, they're replaced. Wow. Their civilization goes the way of the dodo bird. So when did America embrace total sexual freedom, Alex? I guess that would be kind of the question. Yeah, if we want to figure out where we're at. That's what everyone says, Alex. Exactly what you just said. They said 1960s. This feels like what it was. That makes a lot of sense. Here's my argument, okay, for why America's in a last stand moment. That's not just red meat for the base. I'm saying we're literally in a civilizational moment, one of those critical transition phases that determines whether your civilization experiences what Lincoln called a new birth of freedom or whether they start the slide, the beginning of the end, the slippery slope down to Sheol. Okay, I think it was 1973, Alex. Okay, 1973. Wow. And I'll give you three arguments for that.
Okay.
The first one's what you just said. Roe versus Wade, federal abortion rights through point of birth, funded by the taxpayer for any reason or no reason at all. Now, child killing has been a feature of every pagan empire. Alex, child killing, you could say that the willful killing of one's own progeny is the defining vice of human history, okay? Murdering babies in and outside the womb, not progressive idea, not a modern idea. It's a super, super ancient idea. But
Right,
the
read your
reason
Old
that,
Testament, right?
yeah. But the reason that should surprise us in America, Alex, is that we're the most powerful child of the Reformation, baby. This country was founded by Protestant pastors who, for a century before 1776, were preaching that resistance to tyrants is obedience to God. Who were preaching that the citizen defying an unconstitutional and immoral dictate was the more lawful citizen than the tyrant demanding obedience. Okay, that was preached from American pulpits for a full 100 years before 1776. So yes, child killing codified as a federal right in 1973, while it's very common historically, should surprise us in the land of the free and the home of the brave. So I guess you don't have total sexual freedom, Alex, unless you have the freedom, watch this, to murder the products of your sexual freedom. Babies! Yeah. So that happened in 73. What else happened? Dude, Endangered Species Act, Alex. The same year we declared open season on the littlest humans, we gave more legal protections to sea turtles and porpoises, fulfilling Chesterton's prophetic warning that wherever there is animal worship, there will be human sacrifice. And thirdly, the United States Supreme Court removed their obscenity laws, thereby allowing the widespread legal distribution of pornography. So for the Old Testament reader, the Christian who doesn't listen to Andy Stanley, those three things should remind you of, abortion, Molech, animal worship, Baal, porn, Ashtoreth. The three demonic manifestations that whenever God's people would worship or come into agreement or tolerate that, God would say, I'm done with you. I'm washing my hands of you. Psalm 106, I give you over to be ruled by those who hate you. I think it's fair to say 1973 was America coming into agreement with a demonic trinity that began a 90 to 100 year slide down into despotism, which means that we're in what could be called the third and final chapter. And the only thing historically that has ended those kinds of evils this June, weird gay stuff and baby killing, Alex, has been the local church. Historically, it's only been the church that's been able to resist that kind of evil and lay the foundation for renewal and reformation. That's what this film and book is about.
Yeah, it's 100%. And you look at pagan Rome, same things, orgies at weird temples, all kinds of strange sex stuff, child sacrifice, slavery. And of course, Christians were persecuted, fed to lions. Oh, you guys are so evil. And yet, as Paul promised in Romans, God crushed Satan under their feet. We've only got about a minute left, Seth. How do people get the book, and what are some quick things that churches and Christians can do to push back so that hopefully our civilization doesn't die and get replaced by something else?
Yeah, well, thank you, Alex. We just launched White Rose Action at the White Rose Resistance. It's a C4 to mobilize the local church even more, to get godly legislation passed at the state level, particularly in red and purple states, to actually protect the preborn. So people can check out whiteroseaction.org if they want to actually support legislative attempts to mobilize the body of Christ. But we are the White Rose Resistance, a Christian 501c3, a digital media activism organization to mobilize the local church against these evils. To host a screening of this film and to pick up the book, The Last Stand, Christ or Chaos, The War for the West, go to thelaststand.film, thelaststand.film. Pastor, Christian educator, host a screening this year for free. And remind your students and people the glorious and forgotten legacy of Christian resistance against the same evils that we're facing today.
Amen, brother. There's nothing holy or pious about allowing evil to march through your institutions and your society and kill babies unchallenged, unchecked. It's terrible. Seth, thank you for being a clear voice on these issues. Thank you for this book. I cannot wait to read it. Can't wait to watch the film. Hope to talk to you very soon. But thanks again, brother. Appreciate you coming on, and we'll talk again.
Thanks.
God bless you. All right, folks, stay with us. We're going to be right back here on the Sentinel Report with more. Go check it out. This is going to be an important film, an important book, The Last Stand, Christ or Chaos, The War for the West. We'll be back.
If you've been following Alex Newman's reporting on the Great Taking, you already know the laws governing your IRA and your 401k were quietly changed. What you may not know is what to do about it, specifically for your accounts. My name is Andrew Winnett. I'm a certified financial fiduciary and the founder of Retirement Renegade. I spent $1 million producing the Retirement Reset, the documentary Alex Newman appears in alongside Tucker Carlson, Ben Stein, Lauren Seidel-Baker from ITR Economics, and more. Right now, I'm offering Liberty Sentinel listeners two things completely free. First, stream the Retirement Reset. Go to retirementrenegade.com/Liberty and use promo code LIBERTY at checkout. Watch the full film and see the evidence yourself. Second, once you have watched it, book a free 15-minute retirement income clarity session. I will show you specifically how your accounts are structured, where the vulnerabilities are, and what a protected retirement plan looks like for your situation. Free, no obligation. Go to retirementrenegade.com/liberty. That is retirementrenegade.com/liberty. Promo code LIBERTY. Do it today.
Welcome back to the Sentinel Report. Folks, stock market's going crazy again. Every day, Trump wakes up, says something about Iran, and the stocks either surge or crash. We got the SpaceX IPO going gangbusters, along with, seems like, everything else that Elon Musk touches. And, of course, the government at the same time admitting we are hundreds of trillions of dollars in the hole when you include the debts and the unfunded liabilities. We've got Social Security broke in 6 years. Joining us to discuss all of this and more is my friend Andrew Winnett. He's the founder of Retirement Renegade. He also is the man behind the incredible new documentary, The Retirement Reset, that yours truly participated in. Andrew, welcome to the program. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Alex.
Hey, it's great to have you, Andrew. And it's nice to turn the tables, right? Last time you were interviewing me, so it's great to have you on the program. You are, of course, a certified financial fiduciary. And you're one of the rare guys in this field who's like actually looking at the real world and trying to help clients understand. I really like that about you. You know, a lot of these guys, they just want to put their head in the sand. Let's not talk about the Great Reset. Let's not talk about what these insiders are doing. So really grateful for you, Andrew. But let's start with the stock market. I mean, it's just been going to new heights. We've got this SpaceX IPO. Seems like a lot of it's driven by what Trump puts on social media for the day. What do you make of it? Is this sustainable? Can it keep going?
Trees don't grow to heaven, Alex. This is not going to last for forever. I think Trump, as of today, has 41 times predicted we have a deal, since this war started. And the market just responds accordingly. There's two forces that are affecting the stock market. There's Iran, who says, no, we don't have a deal. The market goes down, oil prices go up. And then there's Trump, who says, we finally have a deal. This is really the one. My gosh, all we do is win. Everything we do, it's getting so tiring winning all the time. And the market goes, there's no fundamentals. It's completely smoke and mirrors. The market is crazy high, but I'll tell you something that people need to be aware of is this deal, this SpaceX IPO. So in order for people to understand, what happens is these big hitters, these institutional investors, maybe they've got $500 million or $1 billion to invest, and they've invested in a lot of these private equity deals. Well, over the last year, liquidity has been sucked out of the system, and these redemption periods have been shut off. So if you invest in a private equity deal, usually you can only get your money once a quarter. Well, BlackRock and a lot of these big other private equity firms have shut off redemptions because the market is not doing as well as they would have liked. So think about it. If you have $1 billion and most of your money's tied up, you need a liquidity event. You need a way to get some of your money back. Well, this is where these IPOs come in. So if you are, XYZ bank or XYZ institution and you need some cash, you need liquidity, what they've done is they've changed the rules on the 401k plans. Think about tens of trillions of dollars is held up in 401ks. Main Street. Well, Wall Street is having problems with liquidity. And so what they want to do is change the 401k rules to now you as an everyday person, a middle-class American, have access to this wonderful world of IPOs. Well, you think, wow, finally I get my shot at something that's going to go to the moon. I can be an early investor. Well, actually, that's not what's going to happen at all. When you change rules with a 401k, and now you have access or exposure to these IPOs, when they go public, all the money has already been made. They made it in Series A round, Series B round, Series C round. That's where they bought in for 10% of what they're going to sell the stock to you for. And so when it goes public, these original investors, these big hitters who don't have liquidity that are looking for a liquidity event, they cash out. And it transfers the bag of risk from Wall Street to Main Street. Here's the other thing that's really sinister is they've lowered the fiduciary responsibility on these 401k plan administrators. So you don't have an investment guy who's saying, yep, that's a good investment. Let's have our big bucket of money in the 401ks, invest in that. They just changed the rule. So if they change the rule saying, yes, you can officially invest in IPOs, then the money follows suit automatically. So people may not even know that they're being exposed to these IPOs. And then when the big hitters sell, they get cut in half. And so, for example, the internet, everybody used the internet. It's a very important tool, but people overpaid and lost everything or lost close to everything. The railway system, right? The trains back in the day, obviously a super powerful technology for our country, but people got wiped out if they bought at the wrong time. SpaceX is a really powerful tool, but if you look right now, it's trading at almost 100 times price to earnings. So if they make $1, they're trading at 100 times that. Normally you want to be in the 20 to 40 range if you're a tech company. SpaceX is trading at 100 times. So it's a bubble. But here's the deal. Anthropic, OpenAI, those are the next ones that are coming up. So you got to keep your eye on your 401k because, again, they're trying to take our money at every angle and no one's talking about this stuff.
That's by far the best explanation I've heard of this, Andrew, because I've heard a lot of analysts talking about this SpaceX thing. I was with Catherine Austin Fitz over the weekend. She said, don't buy it, don't buy it, don't buy it. I was like, okay. But I think you just hit the nail on the head here. It looks like this little guy is going to be taken for a ride again. And that's actually how our paths crossed. You as a fiduciary, you as an investment guy were hearing about the great taking, and you started on this road to try to disprove it. Right? The great taking, if you guys haven't watched our programs on that, we've had David Webb on the program. He's the guy who coined that phrase. Basically, they changed the laws in all 50 of our states and all over the world so that you don't own your stocks, your bonds, your financial assets anymore. And so that when the next big crash comes, they can end up with all of them. And so you and I, Andrew, both, I set out to disprove it as a journalist. You set out to disprove it as a financial guy. What did you find? I mean, obviously, you found it was real because you did this documentary. But in a few minutes, just give us some insight into what you found with this great taking.
Yeah, so the great taking is 100% irrefutable. This has happened in different ways over 100 times in our country already. People's money has been stolen by the tens of billions, maybe even more than that already. Basically, if you have your money in any bank, any custodian like a Fidelity, Schwab, Raymond James, Merrill Lynch, Ameriprise, those are custodians. They manage your money. If you have any of your retirement savings, any of your savings whatsoever in any bank or any custodian, and the bank or custodian fails, your money can be legally taken because it's been pledged as collateral for all these risky bets, these derivatives, through the depository trust company out of New York. All money flows through that one entity.
Literally created by a CIA guy, Rockefeller henchman, who also brought us US aid. Like, what could go wrong?
Right. And he has no financial background either, which is interesting. Yeah. So the point is that we, like with Lehman Brothers, money was taken and was not restored. And some of it wasn't restored fully at all. But the ones that were restored took 14 years and 13 days. And that is with us printing $700 billion to bail them out through the TARP program. My point in the film, and I actually went to bat and fought the bank lobby in Tennessee to amend these laws with Bud Holsey. He's a representative. He's an amazing man. He's tried 3 years in a row to get this problem amended. And if we can get it passed in one state, the rest of the states will follow. But guess what? The bank lobby beat us 5-2. So until this problem is solved, our money is vulnerable of being taken. And my concern is that unlike 2008, where we had money and room on the credit card to just print our way out of this problem, this mess, we are coming to a place where we will not have any room on the credit card as a country to just bail ourselves out of this mess. We were at 10 trillion in US sovereign debt in 08. We're at 40 trillion now. And within 5 years, 50 cents of every dollar that we bring in tax revenue is just going to go to the interest expense alone on our debt. We don't have any more room on the credit card. Social Security is already broken. We're going to run out of money by 2033 at the latest. We've got 150 trillion between 150 and 200 trillion in unfunded liabilities. Inflation's going to the moon. They're trying to manipulate the CPI number again to help them lower interest rates, which is never going to work. We have a flawed system. This is the end of the empire financially, and we're grasping at straws, trying to figure out what to do. Meanwhile, Wall Street, their last gasp, they're looking at which bucket of money has not been corrupted yet? What could we get our greedy little hands on? And the 401ks is their best bet, and your IRAs is the second best bet.
It's absolutely astounding. Andrew, I'm really grateful that you are out there speaking about this. The documentary is extraordinary. You put $1 million of your own money into making this happen. People can find that. It's at the retirementrenegade.com. And then for viewers and listeners of the Sentinel Report, that's /liberty. The retirementrenegade.com/liberty, retirementrenegade.com/liberty. And when they use the promo code Liberty, they can actually watch this whole documentary absolutely free, right?
That is correct. And share it. Share it with as many. We have to get the word out. People are unaware of the danger that they're in with their money.
Yeah. And folks, this is an issue that affects all of us. Even if you think it doesn't affect you, you've got a retirement account somewhere, you got a 401k somewhere. Pay attention to this. Andrew, retirementrenegade.com/liberty. I can't wait to get you back. Again, I'm really grateful that you're not just talking about these, you're not just helping people prepare for it, but you're also on the front lines of the battle, going to legislatures, working with lawmakers, trying to fix this so that hopefully we can avoid the worst of this. But thank you very much for joining us. Thanks for speaking out, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, Andrew. All right, folks, go check it out. It's at the retirementrenegade.com/liberty. Use that promo code Liberty. You'll be able to watch the documentary for free. Again, yours truly is in it, and a lot of really interesting people. You're going to want to see this. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more right here on the Sentinel Report.
Life's just better with VNI. There's purpose, there's passion, and there's a renewed sense of inspiration and optimism with every day. After all, we were founded on the power of possibility. Nearly a decade ago, a team of world-class scientists, formulators, and industry makers brought together biology, chemistry, and technology and created something unique and life-changing, while infusing a new sense of health and hope into the world. With every product comes an empowering opportunity to take charge of our destiny. One where we feel rejuvenated and energized, and everything else around us feels lighter, brighter, and full of promise. Let's live victoriously, together.
Welcome back to our third and final segment on the Sentinel Report today. Folks, Florida is the center of the conservative political universe today, thanks to Governor Ron DeSantis, thanks to the dramatic transition from relatively purple state to deep, deep red state. And during COVID, it really was the model of conservatism, pushing back against the rogue federal government, expanding freedom, reducing the size and scope of government. A lot of people, especially Republicans, are looking at Florida all across the nation, and for good reason. So with that in mind, yes, I live in Florida, but that's not the only reason. We decided to do a segment on the Republican race for governor here in Florida. There's several major candidates. We caught up with 3 of the 4 top candidates, Andrew, Muller, and yours truly. Andrew, thanks for coming on. Thanks for joining me for this segment to break down this really, really important race.
Well, thank you, Alex, for having me. It was fun interviewing these folks, and I hope it's valuable to our audience.
Yeah, I think it will be. I think this is just such a critical subject. They're obviously, they created these new rules for the debate that allowed only one candidate to qualify for the debate. So I guess he'll be debating himself, or there will be no debate, which has a lot of people mad, including Ron DeSantis, one of the key architects of the big conservative victories that Florida enjoyed over the last 8 years. Let's roll this clip of our governor.
Yeah, there should be a debate. They said they were going to do a debate. They didn't put out the criteria publicly. I don't think the RPOF ever voted on any type of criteria. I've heard secondhand what the criteria was. I wouldn't have qualified when I ran in 18 for what they were trying to do. And so it's counterproductive when you try to engineer an outcome, because you need a coalition of voters to do well. And this may be a tough cycle for Republicans if you look at some of the indicators, the way things are trending. And so having an open process and having people be able to have their say is always better than to try to engineer an outcome. So what the party should be doing is doing what's in the best interest of Republican voters. You shouldn't have another agenda. You shouldn't be answering to anyone else other than the voters there. Now, having said that, this whole notion that the party should control debates is ridiculous. You don't need the party to control. They have no authority to control debates.
Yeah, he wouldn't have actually qualified for that, as he explained. Now, the RPOF did decide to allow the candidates to make individual statements rather than have a debate. And then Evan Powers, the head of the Florida GOP, decided they were going to actually uninvite the guy who's polling in second place in this race, a fellow by the name of James Fishback. In a statement, Evan Powers said that after conversations with numerous Republican leaders, grassroots activists, and stakeholders from across Florida, it has become clear that entertaining Mr. Fishback's overtures to participate in official Republican Party activities was a mistake. Rather than participate in the party's official process, Mr. Fishback immediately chose to promote and participate in a rival, unsanctioned event in violation of party rules. Oh, and he's also a racist and an anti-Semite and a terrible, terrible man. So that's the Republican Party of Florida. DeSantis then doubled down, posting that the chairman of the party should not be insulting the intelligence of Republican voters. A debate was promised, and these ridiculous criteria are being used to renege on that promise and to engineer a preferred outcome. Why not just take 90 minutes, find a TV partner, and let the candidates mix it up? The only reason why you wouldn't is if the party hierarchy is serving outside interest instead of the best interest of the voters. Ooh, sounds like DeSantis is not happy with this. Since the RPOF won't allow all these candidates to show up and speak, Andrew and I decided we needed to do a big segment on this on the Sentinel Report. So Andrew interviewed James Fishback, who's polling second, also our Lieutenant Governor Collins. And then I had the opportunity to interview Paul Renner, who served as Speaker of the House during a lot of DeSantis's major victories. We did email the Byron Donalds campaign. We actually reached out on his personal cell phone number repeatedly, trying to get him to come on and join us. He completely ignored us. Now, I've spoken with him before. I actually interviewed him back when he was in the state legislature. His wife is a very nice lady, but for whatever reason, they did not want to participate in this. So just throwing that out there. Andrew, you had the opportunity to interview Fishback. Again, he's polling second on this. I want to air a couple of clips from that. But before we go to that, what was that like? I mean, the party establishment is now claiming he's a racist, he's an anti-Semite. Congressman
Randy Fine.
Yeah, Congressman Randy Fine, who's been on this program, of course, said that the Republican Party was hosting a neo-Nazi rally because they invited James Fishback. I mean, is James Fishback, when you talk to him, is he as bad as these guys are saying?
No, not from my perspective at all. And this is the same tactic they pulled against the president in 2015 that the left did. They called him a Nazi, a racist, all these different things. It's the same thing that the MAGA base just did to Thomas Massey in Kentucky, and now they're doing it to James Fishback. Let's be clear about terms. Anti-Semitism is the hatred and prejudice against all Jews. That is not what James Fishback's position is. He says that we have Jewish influence in our elections through an organization called AIPAC, and that the state of Florida gives money to Israel and invests in Israeli bonds at a unjust level compared to other countries. And that's what he talks about. Foreign influence. Is this in the best interest of the Floridian and the taxpayer? That's all he's ever said. So it's not hatred against all Jews. He's repeatedly said he does not hate all Jews. And people are using this, in my opinion, as a attack piece to just go after Fishback in a hot political moment and basically negate all of his otherwise legitimate points and just straw man them as racial prejudice, which I don't think is what his position is at all. He's just going after AIPAC and some of this foreign investment.
Yeah, and you actually did a wonderful article in the New American about the evils and the danger of anti-Semitism and blaming Jews when things go wrong. It's a good article. And a lot of the strongest, most faithful Jews that I know actually really don't like AIPAC. They think it's a betrayer of the Jews out there promoting a two-state solution. We're going to carve up the land and hand some over to Arabs, things like that. So, yeah, it's very interesting. Now, you interviewed him, and he had a lot of things to say. We're just going to play some of the highlights. People can watch the whole thing over at our Rumble channel. But here he is talking about legislating morality and putting a sin tax on pornography.
What is that sin tax all about, and how would you respond to the claim that maybe some neocons would say, or liberals, that that's legislating morality?
It is legislating morality, and that's what we're supposed to do. If we're not legislating morality, then we might as well get rid of any law that makes it illegal to murder someone or to steal, because those are moral principles. Where do we get the idea from that killing someone is wrong? It's a moral principle. It's given to us from God. And so I want to dispel with the notion that—
All right, interesting. We've also got him speaking on the 9th and 10th Amendment. Let's roll that.
Whatever it may be, do you believe in nullification?
I do. I do. I believe in checks and balances, and that isn't just Article 1 versus Article 2 versus Article 3. It's not just the courts over Congress or the president over the legislature. It is actually about state government. Remember, the federal government didn't create the states. We created the federal government. And so my view is nullification always has to be on the table, because we are a free and a sovereign and independent state. My job is not to pay deference to the mandates from Washington, D.C., but it's to protect the people of the state. A lot of that can be done without literal direct nullification, but I would never take that off the table for egregious violations from the federal government.
Very interesting. Yeah, nullification, big issue. We also have him talking about immigration, the explosion of third world immigration in this country, and of course the affordability crisis, what he would do so that Floridians can afford to live. Really critical. I want to move on to Renner because we're almost running out of time in this segment. I had the opportunity to interview him at the FPEA, Florida Parent Educator Association conference, where I helped moderate the debate and ask questions there. Here he is talking about the COVID tyranny and nullification and states' rights.
Continue to lean into educational freedom, health freedom, and where the government, the federal government, stands in the way. As you know, most of what they're doing is well outside their enumerated powers, and so I've said jokingly but seriously, we'll let the 9th and 10th Amendment have a CrossFit workout when I'm governor if we have that kind of activity from Washington, D.C., which is to say we'll file lawsuits each and every week if we have to stop that, as well as passing laws at the state level to protect our citizens and keep the freedom that we enjoy here in Florida.
Now, there you go. Promises to continue DeSantis' legacy of standing up to rogue federal power. He spoke eloquently on the issue of life and abortion. Here we go.
Well, first of all, what do I believe? I believe that life begins in conception and should be protected through natural death, period. However, we got the best bill we could get. As House Speaker, I wanted the most pro-life legislation that could pass the legislature. The other side wanted exceptions. I said, we're not going to do exceptions. We're going to do exceptions only if we get heartbeat. So that was kind of the back and forth to get to the Heartbeat Protection Act with exceptions. And we also, have in this country now a culture of death, where for 50 plus years with Roe v. Wade, we've said the court has said not only is abortion excused, but it should be promoted because it's a constitutional right. And so there's a lot of leadership that needs to take place, a lot of education that needs to take place, which as governor, I will speak up for life each and every day, unapologetically.
All right. We also asked him about education. And of course, he was one of the architects of the big bill that basically handed out public money to what used to be homeschoolers. Now they're called PEP students. And, really important issue for the homeschool community. He did share our concerns about the possibility of future regulation, but vowed to fight back very vigorously as needed. And Andrew, you sat down with Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins, and please tell us what you found.
Yeah, it was a very enlightening interview. It's posted at libertysentinel.org for those who want to see the full thing. We talked about abortion, AI data centers, property taxes, a lot of things. I liked most of his answers, to be honest, except on abortion, which left a lot to be desired. Here's what he said about that.
I will stand on the side of being pro-God, pro-gun, pro-life every day. But I'm also here to say that I'm not going to leave people behind. We got to get kids out there and give them homes. It may not be the one you're born into. I'm not trying to strip kids from families, but I will make sure that kids have opportunities to live a life of greatness on their terms, and that American dream is attainable for everybody. That's what pro-life means to me.
Very good. So would you be open to restricting the laws more, so take back that 6 weeks, or what?
Yeah, I'm willing to have a discussion on that. I think so. I think that it's not my primary focus right now. We got to get affordability under control first. But look, man, unborn children have to be protected. It's heartbreaking. Think about what we've done, how many people we've lost, how many lives have been lost just because of that. While it's not the thing that I'm hyper-focused on, I'm pro-life. That's where my values are. That's what I ultimately want to see.
So it's not something he's hyper focused on, which
Yeah,
is a little
I'd like him to be
concerning.
hyper focused on the lives of our unborn babies. You could go back to Seth Gruber. It's kind of important. So
Yeah, exactly. So it's a big issue, but affordability, we got to tackle that first before saving lives. So I wasn't a huge fan of that. But on property taxes, I think he had the right stance. He aligned with the governor. Here's what he said on property tax eradication.
Yeah, so specifically, look, I'm with the governor 110% on this. Property tax on homestead properties is what we should be pushing for. We have no income tax. Owning your home is the American dream. Your castle, your piece of the American pie, getting that free and clear of the government when you pay off your mortgage, we're an incredible thing. You know, the naysayers will tell you, well, where do you replace the money? What about sales tax? You're going to increase taxes here. No, I don't think we have to. Less than 30% of the property tax dollars we see as a state come from homestead property tax. That's manageable. 67 counties, that's the number. What if I told you we have $3 billion we've identified through DOGE or our Florida upgrade, FAFO, right? So far. We're not done yet. That's an incredible number, $3 billion in annual waste. Accountability has to come. As often is the case, we don't have an income problem. We have a spending problem in cities and counties. It's not the government's money. It's the people's money. I would like them to keep more of their money so they can live that American dream.
Yeah, so I thought that was a good answer. Of course, property taxes is a part of kind of a Marxist communist idea where you'll never own your home. You have to pay the government in perpetuity to have the pleasure of owning your house, even if you paid off the mortgage. So I thought that was the right stance. And then finally, we got him quickly to talk about the New World Order, DEI, the United Nations. Hear what he said about making sure that sort of agenda doesn't happen in the free state of Florida.
Those games. Digital banking, we're not there, right? You have to make sure that people have opportunity outside whatever social agenda and nonsense. We have pulled DEI. I think the governor's put it very well. Florida is the state where DEI came to die. That's how it has to be. All these social equivalencies, all of the New World Order nonsense that comes from the UN, from Europe, they should go be worried about being sovereign countries and taking care of their people. Stop trying to force people to be more like Europe. Europe needs to go back to our traditional skills and values, right? Judeo-Christian principles. I think we're very shared in a lot of that with those nations.
Wow. That was a fascinating take. I love that he was against the New World Order. I mean, progress anyway. We also, again, we reached out to Byron Donalds. He, of course, has been endorsed by President Trump. Trump said that Byron Donalds will be a truly great and powerful governor for Florida and has my complete and total endorsement. He will not let you down. So I think Byron Donalds thinks that will allow him to cruise to victory. He may well be correct. His Freedom Index score is an impressive 91. The Freedom Index, of course, is produced by the New American Magazine, where I serve as senior editor. And what they do is they take the votes of members of Congress, score them against the Constitution. 100 is a 100% constitutional voting record. 0 is 0% constitutional. So 91 is very good. We've got to give Byron Donalds credit where credit is due. Here he is speaking on abortion.
Will you commit to a full abortion ban as governor?
Right now, we're going to keep the law as it is.
Okay, keep the law as is. So you can still murder your baby if you use the right instruments at the right time or whatever. So yeah, there's that. And then we have, everybody's making fun of him right now for this, discussing education. He's literally standing in front of a sign that says achievability and it's spelled wrong. Obviously, he didn't write the sign, but it's getting a lot of play right now. And of course, Congressman Jimmy Patronis, used to be our CFO here in Florida, told political operatives that they should be investors in Byron's company so they could be shareholders and help steer the state of Florida. Listen.
Everybody here in the room, I hope you're investors in this company, okay? Because if you're investors, you're shareholders. If you're shareholders, you get to spend some time with the CEO and you get to help steer the direction that this great state is going. Y'all, my friends, Byron Donalds.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. If we hear back from Byron Donalds, we will be more than happy to give him some airtime here on the Sentinel Report. But there you have it. We're not going to tell you who to vote for. Obviously, you can make your own decision. You're all capable individuals. We're grateful just for the opportunity to share that with you. We hope you found it beneficial. If you know people in the free state of Florida or the semi-free state of Florida, send it to them. And that's all we have time for today on the Sentinel Report. But I want to encourage you to go to our website, libertysentinel.org. You can find all those full interviews for free and others, some of the other candidates who are in the race. So go check that out, libertysentinel.org. Sign up for our free newsletter. Lots of good information in there. And you can also support the work we do. Until the next time, thank you very much for joining us. God bless you all.